Aloha ukulele class. This is lesson 14. We just have one more lesson after this one. By now, you should have your recital songs picked out, the two songs that you'll play for the final, and be working on those. The current assignments are the final recital rehearsal. So piece number one and piece number two. So this is your chance to play those two songs for me and get my feedback before you record them for your final grade. This is a good opportunity to fix any problems or any misunderstandings before you record the final. So as I said before, if you're not feeling very confident about the recital, you should do Ode to Joy Harmony and Amazing Grace Harmony. Those are the two easiest songs. They're the ones that we learned at the earliest point in the semester. So every year, or every semester, we have some students that will play it safe and go with those, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Others are kind of bored with that and want to move on and try other things. So these last few lessons are mainly, I would say, for those students that are wanting to take the next steps. You may not be there yet, but that doesn't mean you won't be later on. So these are still good lessons for you to watch, and even if you're not performing the songs at a decent level or high proficiency, you can learn some of the concepts and some of the techniques, like the chukka strum. Okay, and also we're reusing some of the techniques we've learned previously in the semester, like the rest strum. That's where we strum with the thumb and rest against the strings that we don't want to play. Anyway, I hope you enjoy them and have fun. There's always kind of a wide variety of students in the class, some that are working on the basic stuff, and then others that are ready to move on and to do some things that are more challenging. So whichever category you fall under, it's perfectly fine. And I think you can see with the assignments that you have to do, there's a sort of a minimal level that you need to attain, and then the rest of it is either kind of an introduction to certain concepts, or a opportunity to take things a step further, to the next level. Okay, so today we're gonna do a little bit more with the modes and the improv, and then we're going to take a look at a few songs. So these are the documents you should get ready for the lesson: Greensleeves Harmony, Greensleeves Picking, and Grass Skirt Chase, and Over the Rainbow. So that's right. The Hawaiian Over the Rainbow. Okay, this is like the song that everybody knows and wants to learn how to play on the ukulele. Okay, so we're going to go over that today. And like I said, you may not be performing these at a high proficiency, but it doesn't mean that you can't benefit by learning some of the techniques and learning how to play them at a much slower speed and gradually building that up over time. Okay, so you should have the modes memorized by now. I think we introduced them, in a few lessons ago now, and and scales and modes and chords are the things that we really want to retain and to have down for memory. Okay, so first thing, let's play the ascending modes followed by the descending modes with quarter notes. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try the eighth notes. And don't worry if you didn't do that perfectly, which I'm sure you probably didn't. It's okay. The point of this is that it's an exercise that we continually work on and get better at. Okay, I certainly didn't do it perfectly. I missed a couple of the notes, and that's okay. You just kind of keep going and try to pretend like you didn't make a mistake. Okay, so now we do the eighth notes, so twice as fast. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And if you weren't able to do that, don't worry about it. I'm just showing you some things, some steps you can take to exercise with these things. So step 1 is memorize it. Okay. Step 2 is do quarter notes with the backing track. Step 3 is eighth notes with the backing track. Okay. Here's another thing you can do. This is the next step. All right. Say you've done all those things. I'm ready to do something new. Here's what you can do. You alternate between ascending and descending scales. So the first one, you go up the scale, and then the second one, you go down the scale. The third one, you go up the scale. Fourth one, you go down the scale. Up the scale, down the scale, up the scale, down the scale, up the scale, down the scale, up the scale, down the scale. I'm just basically doing everything I just did in the reverse order. So that's the alternating modes. Okay, let me show you what that sounds like with the backing track. And I'm just going to skip to the eighth note part. If you like, you can go back and go to our YouTube channel, cue it up to this point in the video, and slow it down and play along. So that's YouTube is really a good tool for that, to be able to watch the video again and slow it down. I wish, a long time ago when I was taking lessons, regular lessons, I could like slow things down and watch it again. That would have been useful. Okay. But the modern day and age have a lot of useful tools for studying music. Okay, so eighth notes with the alternating modes. I'll show you what this sounds like. 1, 2, 3. So in the last lesson we talked about doing random quarter notes and random eighth notes. That's like the first kind of improv activity. So we're just kind of trying to stay within the lines of those positions and modes while not playing any notes outside of that. Randomizing the notes just to try and get away from just going straight up and down the scales, while making a rhythmic aspect to it, right? But only quarter notes. So by limiting those things, we kind of make it easier on ourselves and let us build up to improvising on a more complex degree. Okay, so let's do random quarter notes. Now, this time let's do random quarter notes again, and this time let's try and add articulation. Okay. I don't know if you noticed, but I played one of those wrong notes in there, but I made it right by sliding back into position. Okay. So if you hear one of those wrong notes, oh, okay, now it's right. You can use the slide. All right. So articulations, examples are slides. Forward slide, backward slide, hammer on, pull off, vibrato, bend. Okay, all kinds of articulations, and also the short articulation, We can make a note short, and you can do that by pressing the string and then letting go the pressure. Or you can just put your thumb back on the string to stop it. That's the short accent. Okay, so random quarter notes, but focusing more on articulations, random articulations as well. Okay. Finally, eighth notes, random eighth notes with articulation. Okay, now the articulations in this case help you with the speed. So I don't know if you heard the sample improv that cues up before the count off, but yeah, he does something like that. And the articulation in this case can help you with the speed because I don't have to hit the string every time with my thumb. I can use the hammer-on pull-off. To move around without hitting it all the time with my thumb. Okay. So sometimes we do things while improvising because they kind of make things feel better, feel smoother, make it a little bit easier, and feel more natural. Okay, now, eighth notes, random with articulation. 1, 2, 3. So these can all be sort of things that you can easily do. If the speed is too much, just slow it down. If you're not ready to do eighth notes, then just keep doing quarter notes until you are ready. And when you do eighth notes, it also helps to slow the playback speed. And you can have a lot of fun with that. All right, finally. I know I said finally before, but I want to do one more thing. Mixing the quarters and eighths together with articulations in a random way. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you can see that each step you take, it starts to sound more and more like music, like some soloing improvisation thing, adding just one layer of complexity at a time. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about Greensleeves. Now, I'm going to zoom in here and show you this. So, very important here, we have the fingerings for the chords written, okay? This means put your middle finger on the lower note and put your pinky on the higher note, like this. Okay, so this is how we play A minor in this song, okay? So we're gonna learn kind of some alternate ways of playing the chords. And that's pretty common when you do a harmonization because the melody note is not always the note that's on the top of the chord as per what the chord chart says. So usually we have to change the melody note to, something or sometimes we can put whatever note we want on top of that A minor chord, okay? So middle finger and pinky. And the key to playing this song is the fingerings, okay? So here's another C chord, okay? 0, 0, 8, 7. And middle finger on the lower note, first finger on the higher note. play this note with your ring finger, and that allows us to let the notes of the chord ring while we're doing that. Okay. This is a G, but instead of having this note, the 2, we're putting the 5 in the melody. And you play this first finger, middle finger, pinky. Okay? Now, this is probably the trickiest part right here. Well, I don't know if it's the trickiest part, but it's one of the tricky parts. And what you want to do here is take your pinky off and put your first finger down here. And this is kind of like a pivot note to the next chord, because the next chord is going to have these same 2 notes in it. Okay? So again, G, like this, and then pivot. And then E minor, this is a different E minor. It's like this. Pinky on 4 on the C string, and ring finger on 4 on the G string. So it's like this: 4, 4, 3, 2. And then all you have to do is take your first finger off and put it back. So that measure. Okay, and we want to use the rest strum there because we're only strumming 3 strings. Okay. Alright. This is a useful chord to know because we can play a few different chords that way, like E flat minor, F minor, F sharp minor. It's movable. We're not playing any open strings in the chord. So again, we do that G chord, pivot to this note, and then adding these 2 fingers. Back to A minor with the middle finger and the pinky. Okay, the chord fingerings only are shown on the chord when it appears the first time, but you should keep doing it the same way throughout the song. This song is very repetitive. Okay. F. And if you can, you should reach over and play this note while holding the F chord. Okay. I think most people can reach that note. If you can't, it's okay, you can come off the note, but if you can reach over there, it sounds much better to play that while the notes of the chord are ringing. It's almost like you're accompanying yourself. It creates the illusion of that anyway. And then E7, I believe we learned this chord when we did Hotel California. This chord is played exactly the way it appears in the chord chart, just like F, E7, nothing different about this one. And again, you want to try and reach over and grab that 4 with the pinky. If you can, it's better, especially here because the next measure we're going to play E7 again, except only 3 strings. So it's especially important there because we're going to keep playing that same chord. And now we have a repeat basically here. A minor, the C chord again, and the G chord, pivot. So this is going to be the same exact thing. We're going to that E minor. So G, and then take your pinky off and put your first finger here. Okay, this helps set up the switch, and then you just have to add your pinky and your ring finger again. Okay, trust me, you don't want to try and make up your own fingerings for this. I've given this a lot of thought, and you know, sometimes a student will come up with something that's interesting that might solve a problem that I didn't think of, but most of the time the results are not so great. especially in terms of the notes continuing to ring. All right, on this one you want to hold A minor, and you can get your ring finger on that note. And this is it looks tricky, but it's not that tricky. What we do here is, this is another E7 where we bar fret 2, and we put this finger on the G string on the 4th fret. So this is like a B minor chord. If you remember Hotel California in B minor, this is the first chord of that one. And then all we do is we add our pinky here to the E string on the 4th fret. Okay, so we get a G string 4, C string 2, we're playing that with the bar, and E string 4, and it shows you the fingering here, ring finger, first finger, pinky. And the reason we do that is because all we have to do to play those other 2 notes is take the pinky off and put it back on. And again, the other notes of the chord continue to ring while we do that. And then we play E minor normal. Again, E7 bar, G4, E4, take the pinky off and put it back. Okay, and I'll remind you again, for bar chords, keep your finger extremely straight. Don't try to bend it this way or that way, because it'll be very difficult to get this note if it's not completely straight like this, like an arrow. And as far as barring goes, that technique, if you play it with the straight finger, it works on 100% of the time. And I never have to bar any differently than that. And then A minor, and A minor again. And then here we have another kind of C chord up here, 10th fret and 12th fret. So this is a nice, I like to teach this song kind of at this point, because so far the harmonizations we did, they were all down in this position. Hotel California, we get up to here a little bit, and Greensleeves we kind of get even farther up. Which is good because this song has a decent range to it, so we have to move from here to here. Play this with your ring finger and your first finger. And then G, and then the rest of this is just a repeat of what came before. The G chord, the pivot, the E minor, F, same chord again for C, G, the pivot to E minor, and then here's our E chord again with the bar. Okay, so this is kind of like a really old folk song, like an English folk song, I believe. But it's also a Christmas song because someone took some other lyrics and wrote like a Christmassy song to this melody. So it counts technically as a Christmas song, if you're into that. So this one with the right hand is simple. You just do everything with your thumb, and you strum with the rest strum when you're not playing all 4 strings. Okay? If you forget the fingerings, they're written here on the chart with the little numbers next to the notes. And there's also the example video that you can watch that shows the fingerings that I'm doing. Okay. Next is Greensleeves picking, which is kind of uses the same chords, but it does a picking pattern. Okay. Now on this one, the rules are the same as that we talked about when we did the Hotel California riff, and that is that the strums are done with the thumb, and then the thumb plays the G string and the C string, the first finger plays the E string, and the middle finger plays the A string. Okay. And when you have this one is a little bit more challenging because sometimes it has the same string twice, and in that case you should just try to alternate as much as possible. Let's see. No, I would just forget what I said about alternating. I would just stay in position. So the middle finger will play all the notes on the A string, the first finger will play all the notes on the E string, and so on. Thumb does the strums. Yeah, that works, I think. You just stay in position the whole time. First finger, middle finger, middle finger. So I think what's best to do that if you're learning this for the first time is to just stick to the position. So thumb on the G and the C string, first finger on the E string, and middle finger on the A string. That gets you through the song in the easiest way. And also the thumb does the strums, and you still want to do that rest strum even in the picking version. Okay, so this one is good to do in stages. First do the harmony arrangement and then the picking arrangement. And that's very nice. You'll hear lots of like classical guitar versions of this song and with the picking pattern. And it's good to do this on the ukulele as well. Okay. So again, refer to that example video, and keep in mind that all the chords here and all the fingerings with the left hand are the same as the one we just did, Greensleeves harmony. Okay, moving along. Is Over the Rainbow. Okay. Brada is. This one is a very famous one inside and outside of Hawaii. I think I talked to a student about this one and they thought that this was like the original song. And sorry, this is Over the Rainbow was written in the 1930s and was for that movie The Wizard of Oz, which I think, I can't remember if they did the movie first or the Broadway musical, but anyway, it's an old song and this is like kind of a different version of it, which is kind of cool to do. He did Over the Rainbow and then another one, What a Wonderful World, where he uses the same kind of strum. Now, this is one, it looks very complicated, but it isn't really. If it's just the complicated part is that it goes fast. All right, now we learned the chukka strum in the previous lesson, and this also uses the chukka strum. So we'll review that. Karate chop the strings like this. Okay. All right, and then do that while muting the strings, and then bring your hand up and down, and that's what you want to hear. Is you don't want to hear that, you just want to hear a percussive clicking sound. That's all you want to hear. Okay, and I find the easiest way to do that is to turn your hand a little bit this way, and that kind of gives you the surface area here. All right, if you do this, you're reducing the surface area. So, okay. If you're already mastered the chukka strum, I'm not gonna complain about your technique. Okay, but when you're learning it, it's easier just to do it like that. Okay, and then there's one long note, and then all of these are 16th notes, and they're all equal. So you get one long note. I'm gonna play it just on C. I'm gonna ignore this G chord here, and I'm gonna do a whole thing just on C. Okay, and first I'm gonna do it without the chukka, just to show you the rhythm. So it goes down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and so we've had lesson 12. We had how to count 16th notes, how to diagram them, and this is like a very simple example of the 16th notes because it's just one note is different and the rest are just all 16ths, and you just have to count them and make sure that you play the right number of them precisely. Okay, now let's add in the chucka strum, and we're still going to ignore this G chord. Let's just do all C, and we do a chucka here on 2 and a chucka here on 4. So I'm going to go very slowly now. Down, down, up, chuck, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, chuck, up, down, up. Again. Okay, so we've started with something very simple, and now we've added one layer of complexity with the chucka strum. Okay, now that is what makes it hard, is speeding it up to that point. But don't worry about speed. All you want to worry about is playing it correctly, and that's why you can go and listen to that example recording and slow it way down and play along at something like this. Okay, now let's do the switch to G. And what you want to do is the last 16th note before the switch, you do what? You take your fingers off the strings and play the open strings, just like we've talked about in many other songs, like Knocking on Heaven's Door, Hotel California, Have You Ever Seen the Rain, etc., etc., Brown Eyed Girl, etc. Okay. Now I'm not going to play through this whole thing because it's just the repetition of that strum for the entire piece. You just have to follow the chords, and there's actually one chord that is played differently than what it shows in the chord chart. If I look this chord A minor 7 up in the chord chart, it shows this, just all zeros, very simple, but Iz plays it a different way. He does it with A minor as usual, okay, and then you add your pinky here to the E string 3rd fret, and you get this A minor 7. Okay, which I have to say sounds much cooler than if you were to play the simple A minor 7. And it's still pretty simple because you add the pinky. Okay, why the pinky? Well, because normally when we try to reach over with the ring finger, we wind up being on a not such a great place on the fret unless we contort our hand into an unnatural position. So if I'm in the position I should be, then the pinky finger, okay, is what we should use. So that's how you do A minor 7. And it's A minor, A minor 7, and it goes to F. So you don't have to move this finger. And this is a place where you don't have to take your fingers off the strings if you don't want to. A minor 7 to F. Okay, so that's basically it, except for one thing, and that is this arrow right here. And what that arrow means is it means an accent. And in this kind of accent, the way we do it is we just play it louder than all the other ones. Okay, so we go. Alright, now I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit because sometimes when you teach a technique or you learn the technique, you can exaggerate it in order to learn it, and then it kind of becomes more subtle, as you perfect it. Okay. The best way to make that accent is not to necessarily hit the strings super, super hard. The way to do it is to do the other strums more softly, right? So I don't want to start out by hitting the strings hard, because then I'll have to do it even harder to get the accent. So what I want to do is I want to play softly and do the accent kind of more normally. Okay, and this gives the song like a reggae feel, because the reggae beat is like this. Which is where you accent every other strum, and it's not an on the beat accent, it's an off the beat accent, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and so this incorporates that reggae feel into the strum. But don't worry about going fast, just go very slow. So now let's go very slowly and try to get the accent there. So you go down, and you have to accent here, 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 and here. Okay, and I'm ignoring this G for now. I'm just going to do C. So again, slowly. Missed one here, but that's okay. Let's do it with the switch, the chord switch, slowly. Pinky to F. This is a whole measure of F. Okay, and then from there I just show the strum pattern but without the strum direction symbols, and that's okay. You don't have to have the strum direction symbols on every single measure. You just do it the same way every time. And from here, it just does one chord per measure. So you have to do the whole strum pattern on each chord. Okay, until you get to the end. No, the end is still just one chord per measure. So it's just the beginning that you do the 2 chords in each measure part. Okay, and the only other thing you have to watch out for on this are the repeat signs. So this repeat from here, it goes back to here, so the verse is twice. And the chorus, it does this line. Here, let me zoom out so I don't have to keep going back and forth. All right. Chorus does this first line twice, and then it does this, and then this repeat sign takes you back to here, and it does this twice again. And then from here you continue on to the outro, and then by the time you get to here, it sort of fades out. Okay, so you can watch the example video and slow things down to the point where you can keep up, and then try to play along like this. that's kind of a rule of music, is that, you know, no matter how complicated the thing gets, if you can slow it down to a certain point, it becomes easy, and that's how we learn it. It's just that sometimes certain songs, you know, even if you've been doing it for as long as I have, certain songs could take you maybe a really long time to speed it up to full speed. You know, you might be able to learn the whole thing at the slower speed, and then it might take a few months. Could possibly, if the thing is hard enough to play at full speed, it could take some months to learn, and even then, you might not be able to do it. You might have to just go and practice and get better and try again. But that is true. No matter how complicated it is, you can slow it down to a point where you can learn it and learn each technique and each phrase. But depending on how hard it is, it could take a really long time to learn. But sometimes those things are the ones that you do want to learn, because they're so challenging and interesting, and makes you a better player and musician by the time you finish all of that. Okay, so that is it for today. We did some sort of more advanced harmonization with Greensleeves and adding on a picking pattern, and then SpongeBob SquarePants Grass Skirt Chase, that's a fun one, and some more advanced strumming. And I would consider this advanced strumming, even though the chords are kind of simple chords. It's complicated to do a chukka strum and an accent at that speed. But it makes it all the more interesting once you learn it. And I will see you in the next and final lesson video. Thank you very much. Mahalo.